up, people? Glen here. Welcome back to Glen's Reviews, where we talk about movies, TV shows, video games, toys, comic books, anything that's horror related. And tonight, I believe this big gray sexy box right here needs no introduction. This is the Nintendo Entertainment System, which made its way to the US in 1986, but we will not be talking about the console. We're going to be talking about the Castlevania series. Most notably, Castlevania on the NES. In 1987, Konami dropped one of the all-time greatest games ever on us all, Castlevania. Whenever you think of Castlevania, you automatically group it alongside the other great classics on the system, like Super Mario Bros. And Duck Hunt, Contra, Metroid, Zelda, and Double Dragon. It also earned a spot on the NES Classic Edition mini console that came out a while back. Castlevania is notable and memorable for many reasons. The unique gameplay, the graphics, the culmination of horror elements from many different classic movies, and the overly catchy and awesome soundtrack, which would carry on in the following entries in the series. You play as legendary vampire killer Simon Belmont as you battle your way through 18 stages full of zombies, bats, skeletons, and a slew of other classic movie monsters like the Mummy, Frankenstein's monster, and the Grim Reaper, ultimately to defeat and destroy Dracula. Well, the fun wouldn't stop there, as Castlevania would go on to have some follow-ups. In 1988, Castlevania II Simon's Quest was released on the NES. There's a lot of notable differences in this game. It still has that Castlevania kind of feel to it, and the gameplay is pretty similar, except they switched it up a little bit. It's non-linear gameplay. There's some RPG elements where your hearts now consist of currency to buy things at merchant shops. It's not always easy to find health in this game, as you gotta go to a priest at a church to replenish your health most of the time. There's a day and night transition that can get kind of irritating here and there, and at nighttime the enemies are a lot more stronger and a lot of the merchant shops aren't open. Upon destroying Dracula in the first game, Simon had a curse placed on him. And in this game you gotta collect 5 pieces of Dracula's body from each of the castles in the game and ultimately destroy them so Simon can rid his curse and save all the people of the land and save himself. Not really my favorite game in the series, but it's got its following. And in 1990, Konami would go on to release Castlevania 3 Draculas Curse on the NES, the last Castlevania game on the system, and it's also my favorite one, and it's also the most difficult one in the series in my opinion. This game is harder than Frankenstein's dick. Because, you know, Dr. Frankenstein put the monster together with corpses from the graveyard and brought them back. And corpses are usually referred to as stiffs. Alright, the joke didn't land. I'll just accept it and move on. Now, this game's actually a prequel that predates Castlevania story-wise, and you take control of Trevor Belmont, who's like a great ancestor to Simon Belmont from the first game. I love the gameplay of this game. It goes back to the linear style, but you have different paths you can choose. You also get different characters you can choose. Upon beating certain bosses, you can actually bring them with you. There's Grant the Hunchback, Sypha, who's a sorceress, and Dracula's son, Alucard. Yeah, story-wise, you're just setting out on a journey as Trevor, meeting people along the way, and just trying to destroy Dracula, pretty much. I guess the game was so good, that's why Netflix used the characters in this game for their animated Castlevania series. It's actually quite a good series, too. You should go check it out if you have some time. You got a Netflix account. After the NES years, it seems that Castlevania just couldn't be stopped, and it kind of evolved into something else as time went on. The NES, where it felt more like classic horror from like the 1930s, like it had that feel to it, like Dracula and Frankenstein. It just kind of went into this whole anime, Japanese type deal, which isn't bad, but I still prefer the feel of the old games over this stuff. Of course, there'd be tons of Castlevania games released later on different systems. In my opinion, this one right here is the last best Castlevania game to get released on a home console. And that is just my opinion. The awesome Super Castlevania 4 for the Super NES. It's actually more or less a remake of the first game on the NES. You get to throw your whip in all different directions, moonwalk upstairs and stuff. The graphics were freaking awesome. The gameplay was just massively improved, and it was very fun. Very fun game. But, in almost everyone's opinion, this game right here is actually kind of a collector's item right now. This would go on to be the best, you know, the definitive Castlevania game of all time, I guess, for a lot of enthusiasts. Castlevania Symphony of the Night, which is a lot like Metroid in a way. The whole game takes place inside Dracula's castle. The graphics are awesome. Alucard is a cool character to play as. A lot of the enemies are really unique. There's a lot of RPG elements. You gotta level up, you gotta edit stuff. It's just, to me, that's more difficult than it needs to be, because it's a great game, but I have nothing else to say about it. Very difficult as well. Of course, you have your other games too. Lament of Innocence on PlayStation 2, which was decent. Then we got this one right here that I know a lot of people would not like to talk about, because this one got a lot of flack. Castlevania Lords of Shadow. I got nothing against it, but I agree it's not anything special. There's way more Castlevania games in the whole world than this, but I do not own them. I don't plan on owning all of them. A lot of them are very similar to Castlevania Symphony of the Night anyway, so I don't really have a need to play them. Anyway, that was my look at the Castlevania series, primarily the first one. Great series of games. I highly recommend them. They're classics. Tons of people all over the world love these games. If you have an NES, I highly recommend getting Castlevania if you don't already have it. A lot of you that have the NES probably already have Castlevania, but these games on average, each one cost me about $20 or $30 on eBay. For a Super Castlevania 4, you're probably going to be paying a little bit more. That's all I got for now. You can check out more of my videos at youtube.com/GlenLens. I'll see you guys later. Mistress Peace Theater will be right back.